Whoa, it's Wulzy. Welcome back to another building challenge video. I'm back on the Dance Woman alt. As I said in the last episode of the building challenge series, I'm now going to be uploading every single challenge I make to this account. Last time we did a 2x scale only challenge, which was pretty interesting. This time I want to do a 0.5x scale challenge. In a completely different style, so it's not just the exact same thing but small. I want to try and make an effect / abstract thing. I don't know how it's going to go, but we're going to try some stuff out. Hopefully it'll be a good time. In this one, we're going to be using Cascade by Quantum Dylan. It's a vibey, quiet song that I want to make a mini ship with. In fact, maybe I'll make it a big ship to contrast to all of the small objects that you're passing by. I just know that I definitely want to make it clustered and enclosed in the center of the screen. I'm going to be putting a gravity portal every time the song cuts out. For the obstacles in this part, I think I'm just going to bundle up 2 spikes like that, scale it down and half space them into position like so. Just make a trail of objects you're supposed to avoid like that. Also, I just want to say that I would normally be streaming these building challenge videos, but for this week it was not convenient, so this is just recorded. I apologize for that, but in future I will definitely try and stream it a lot more. And just like that, the gameplay is done. It's not very complex, but I feel like it matches the song. The song's very quiet and slow, so I didn't want to go too ham with the gameplay, although there is a couple of tight spaces there. I've added some spike pillars, just like the ones around the final portal. When we scale it up, the whole level moves at once, so you can tell that everything is 0.5 scale. I want to go with a slightly desaturated red clear background, just like this. Then use black for everything else. At the top and bottom of the screen, I want to have a gradient block like this. Just scale it down to half there. It pains me that every single time I copy paste this, it's 6 objects, but you gotta make do with what you got. This can go on group 2 and it can go on B1 and 10. Then I'm going to copy the bottom one, move it up by 1, change the editor layer by 1, and then change the Z order to 8. Same on the top, but we're moving it down instead. These need to go on don't fade and don't enter. Then I need to make sure that all of these spike pillars are on B1 and 9, so they go in between. Now we need a move trigger for group 2 that locks it to the X-axis for a very long time. I'm also going to take one of these squares that's 4 objects, that's so annoying. Move it to editor layer 3, give it another group, not 1 because I want to use that for alpha trigger. I'll just quickly do that before I forget. Then we copy paste this square up to cover the whole screen and we extend it across. This is so many objects. This screen can turn off around about here, and it's going to fade off for about 1 second to 20%. I'll just make sure that all of these objects are on color channel 1, which is going to copy the color of the background. So right now all it's doing is just shading the bottom of the spike pillars so that they cut off into the red background. These spikes will turn into fully blown objects as well, and they will go behind all of the layers. So basically these spike pillars only go behind the first layer of the gradient, which is on editor layer 1 here, but then everything else is going to go behind the second layer, and it's going to make for some nice depth. And then I'm going to use that big overlay that I created, just like that. You saw it fade off in the intro. It's going to fade to a higher opacity until you get to the portal, then it's going to cut back to 0, fade, and then cut back to 0, fade, and cut back to 0. It's hard to explain, but you'll see. The top layer of the overlay is on B1 and 10, so on editor layer 4, I need to scale down some of these spikes, place them on the bottom, on full black, on B1 and 11, just 1 Z order above. Then we've spaced these into place and we can just copy paste them around like so. And these will just show up on top of that overlay. Now I'm going to leave space around the bottom of these spikes because they're going to be extended down. But for now, the easiest thing for me to do is just put them all in place first. I've selected all of the bottom spikes. They're getting half spaced down like so. Just need to delete the excess spikes now. The top spikes are put in now too. I'm going to be using select filter to select every single spike that is there. And we shall move it down to B1, and I think 6 or 7 will do. So now it goes behind the bottom layer of the overlay, and there's now a red space at the top and bottom where these objects don't cover. I'm now going to select the whole level as it is, put it on don't fade and don't enter, then take a spike as a custom object, use select filter to take these values away, and I'm going to do the same for these bottom spikes down here, select all and then remove these, and there's going to be a nice little block effect at the very beginning. There we go, these are getting whisked away on and off screen while the overlay is still happening and while some of the objects aren't, so it gives it a bit of variety in its dynamics. So it's time to do the overlay thing that I was talking about, which I set up earlier on this layer. I'm going to change the initial fade to a 0.5 down to 0.3 or so, then copy paste it and adjust the fade time so it ends on this yellow portal over here, so it's about 3 seconds and it's going to 0. Then I need to fade this back up to full opacity for 0.2, fade it off again for about 4 seconds to 0. I'm tweaking these numbers a bit as I'm going, but I'm just telling you the general values so you get a good idea of what's going on. So the fade off time is actually around 3.2. It's just a subtle thing to change the color of the level, make it a little bit more difficult. So now to make everything tie in together, I copied the values of these block pillars and I pasted them onto these structures and the portals, which is giving them a very strange aesthetic where half of it is black, and I kinda like it for some reason. I might set the portals to half opacity or something like that to make them blend in with what's going on a bit better, but I do kinda like it. We just need to fix up the triggers by scaling each and every single one of them to 0.5 scale, since I forgot to do that. Once I tweak this alpha trigger at the very beginning to fade a little bit longer and have the same effect as the rest of the level, then we should be good to go to add a couple more details, some actual designs instead of default blocks, some pulses here and there. I'm going to copy the values of these spike pillars and change them into black blocks. There we go, there is the equivalent, so we can just delete the original and shove in this object. So I'm giving the portals a new group, group 4. They can start off as invisible, just like group 1, and they're going to copy the alpha triggers of the screen overlay that I've got, just like that. But every time the trigger says 0 opacity, they are fading on to full opacity, and every time the triggers say full opacity, they are 0. Since the portals don't go under the overlay, I have to adapt and give them an opacity by myself. Underneath the whole level, on B4, I am adding some mustard coloured arrows. I'll scale them down right now. Locking to the x-axis, but also having their own group 5. Don't fade, don't enter. And these are going to move towards the player, moving a whopping 600 blocks towards the player in about 15 seconds. There's quite a lot of them, so that should be an okay number. Hey, inducing some color into the background, but I do want to mask these up a little bit, vary their shape and size. That's easily done by copying the whole lot, upping the editor layer by 1, upping the Z order by 1, and changing them to copy color background. So now when they're covering, it looks like nothing. I need to give them a brand new group. 6 can move 300 blocks, which is half of the 600 that the background is moving. So as you can see, these arrows are getting covered up and brought back just over and over again on a loop like that. And it's changing speed too because of the easing. To stop it getting too crazy, I'm going to bundle up a block again just in the space underneath these spikes. Copy color background once again, but this is going on B3, a full Z layer above what's going on behind. And you can see that behind these spikes, nothing is going on. It's just getting covered up. What's going on in the editor? Excuse me? Alright. I'm using no clip, but this is all filled in now. They both have block transitions turned on, so there's no awkward spaces at the side of the screen. I'm going to do the exact same thing where the spike pillars are, but I'm going to cover up the whole strip instead of just the parts where they cover. Sweet. I'm just trying to make sure that the background doesn't cover up too much of the screen, but I need to make sure that it covers up a decent portion, otherwise it's just going to look red and bland. To make pulses for this level, I have to double up my pulse triggers on color channel 1 and on the background. But they're both going to copy the color of the background, increase the brightness by 0.2, increase the saturation by 0.1. I've explained this in other videos, but color channels that copy something else do not copy their pulse as well. Alongside this, I need another copy of these triggers for color channel 2, which copies color channel 2 with the same properties. So I've got 3 pulse triggers in this one loop. These ones all have a 0.1 fade time and a 0.2 fade out time, but then the ones at the sides have a consistent 0.05 hold time, which makes their pulse just a little bit stronger. As you can see, it holds that little bit longer. At the end of the normal loop, there are 2 pulse triggers that go ch-ch. The first one is the shorter one and the last one is the longer one. For this triple tap right here, I've just copied the shorter one again, so it goes ch and then the long one. It's looking dangerous now. I like that tone of red that I've used. Another thing I want to do right now is copy that row of pulse triggers again, change it to the object group, then we can make it a bright orange and remove the fade time. This might look a little bit interesting on the outlines, give them a bit of flair, and I think it does. The only thing is, it affects the portals as well. I don't know how to feel about that. Since I copied the value of the object and pasted them onto the portal, then it kind of pulses orange a little bit. But that does kind of tie them into the level. I don't know how to feel about this. Now, the only thing that's really left to do is make these structures right here. But I do want to try out some detail on the bottom of the screen just by scaling down these spike objects. I think it's a nice idea to have the spiky object on the bottom and the cloudy object on the top. Nice. Unlocking achievements on the alt account. But yeah, I think these work pretty well as decoration pieces on the top and bottom. Add a bit of colour there because they are quite bare with that overlay covering that area of the screen. I feel like being lazy for this video, so the design for this is going to be very simple. Just going to add a corner piece on the top and bottom of these objects. Then I'm just going to do that. Honestly, that works. Then at the very end of the level, I'm going to select literally everything, add it to a new group 7, which fades off with a 0.1 fade time right here. I'm just going to remove group 7 from the overlay screen, and that can fade on to full opacity a block before. And that should be the level completely done. I'm just going to select everything and turn off glow, and this is it. Here is how the level looks. I like the red and orange color scheme. It's something a little bit different from me. The background is kind of mediocre, but it ties in with the rest of the assets pretty well. It works for what I need it for. Bada bing, bada boom, that is it. This is getting uploaded to the Dance Women account called Half Scale Only. 5 stars, free copy, boom. Level shared. I'm on a copy of the level right now. I've moved it into this open space so it has time to increase in scale. Here we go, scale up. Everything is moving at the same rate, which means we have conceded. I mean, succeeded. Oh my god, I can't even speak. People have found out already, it seems, but thank you for watching this Geometry Dash building challenge. Leave suggestions for challenges I should do in the future in the comment section down below. Check the links in the description. Leave a like and subscribe, and have a good day.